Elara Vance hated the word prodigy. It clung to her like the diamond dust on her stage gowns. At 22, she was the world's most celebrated classical pianist, the youngest ever to headline at Carnegie Hall. But with the fame came the suffocation. Every chord she played was scrutinized, every dress she wore was photographed, and every minute of her life was scheduled down to the second. Her breaking point came not in a grand concert hall, but in a cramped dressing room backstage in Vienna. She had just finished a standing ovation performance of Rachmaninoff's Second Concerto when the door lock rattled. Before her security could intervene, a figure burst in. Julian, a wildly obsessive music producer she dated briefly. He wasn't after money or a contract. He was after possession. Elara, you are mine. Your hands, your talent, it belongs to me, Julian screamed, grabbing her wrist. The bodyguards wrestled him away, but the damage was done. That night, lying awake in a gold-plated hotel room that felt like a cage, Elara realized she couldn't breathe. She craved silence, anonymity, the chance to be just a student fumbling through scales, not a flawless icon. 2 weeks later, Elara Vance vanished. She dyed her signature auburn hair, a plain brown, swapped her custom designer clothes for oversized thrifted sweaters, and covered her distinctive, famous pianist hands with black wristbands. Using a carefully constructed new identity, she enrolled under the name Lyra Stone at the esteemed but less prestigious Crescent Music Academy in a quiet coastal city. Lyra's first day was a disaster. She was rushing through the crowded hallway, head down, when she collided with a guy carrying a stack of music sheets and a boom mic stand. The metal clattered to the floor, and the music sheets scattered like doves. "Watch it, Stone." "Are you blind?" The voice was rough, irritated, and surprisingly melodic. Lyra looked up at Jax Cooper. He was tall, dressed in faded jeans, a band t-shirt, and had the perpetually tired eyes of a sound engineer who hadn't slept in days. He was intensely focused, already scrambling to gather his scattered notes. "I am so sorry. Let me help you," Lyra offered, reaching for a sheet. Jax snatched it away. "Don't touch those." "Your clumsiness is contagious. Look, I don't have time for this amateur hour. Just stay out of the way, okay?" Lyra was stunned. Back in her old life, people would trip over themselves just to hold the door for her. This man had outright rejected her offer of help. It was oddly liberating. The universe, however, had a cruel sense of humor. Lyra and Jax were paired for a challenging semester-long project, composing a piece of music where classical piano met modern electronic sound design. Jax was brilliant but temperamental. He spent most of their initial meetings staring at his computer, occasionally glancing at Lyra with suspicion. "Your technique is fine, Lyra, but your emotional expression is like a metronome. Where's the soul?" he'd criticize. "And your sound design is just noise, Jax. It lacks structure." "Where's the elegance?" she'd shoot back. They were an infuriating match. Yet, during their late-night sessions in the Academy's sound lab, a tentative rhythm began to emerge, not just in their music, but between them. One night, Lyra was trying to execute a complex, rapid arpeggio, one that was second nature to Elara Vance, but deliberately simplified for Lyra Stone. She failed repeatedly. Frustrated, she took off her wristbands. "You're thinking too much," Jax murmured, stepping up behind her. "Feel the rhythm. Don't calculate it." He placed his hands over hers on the keys. His touch was electric, startling Lyra out of her focus. He played the passage through her, his fingers guiding hers, transforming the hesitant movement into a graceful, cascading melody. When they finally stopped, their faces were inches apart. "Wow," Jax whispered, not about the music. He was looking at her. I didn't know you had that in you, Stone. It was that moment Lyra knew she was falling for the first person who saw her as anything other than the prodigy. The relationship blossomed into a secret bond, filled with shared laughs over bad cafeteria coffee and mutual support over technical glitches. But Jax's continued obsession with Elara Vance was a persistent, awkward elephant in the room. Did you see Elara Vance's new live album cover? That profile, the intensity, she's a genius. The greatest hands in the world. He'd sigh dreamily, completely unaware the greatest hands were currently stirring his sugar-free coffee. She's just a musician, Jax. Maybe a little overhyped, Lyra would reply, testing him. You're crazy. She's my inspiration. My dream is to run sound for one of her concerts someday, he insisted. She's the definition of perfection. Lyra felt a pang of despair. He was in love with an image, a persona, a fantasy. Then came the Academy's end-of-year showcase. Lyra and Jax's piece was scheduled to close the show. Backstage, she was adjusting her simple dress when Chloe Blake approached. Chloe was a rival pianist at the Academy, bitterly jealous that Lyra, the quiet newcomer, had overshadowed her work. Chloe was also one of the few who had seen Elara Vance up close at an audition years ago. You look nervous, Lyra. Or should I say, Elara? Chloe's voice was a venomous hiss. Lyra froze. I don't know what you're talking about, Chloe smirked. Oh, I think you do. The hair, the eyes, the wristbands hiding those famous $10 million hands. It's only a matter of time before the press catches on. And honestly, dropping out of your glamorous life to slum it here? Desperate Chloe walked away, leaving Lyra cold with dread. Just before they were set to perform, Lyra found Jax by the control board. Jax, I need to tell you something. I can't live this lie anymore. Before she could continue, a sudden commotion broke out in the auditorium. Chloe, seizing her moment, was up on stage with a spotlight on her. She held up an old, grainy photo. Attention, everyone! We have a celebrity among us. This is Elara Vance, the world-famous pianist. And this, she pointed dramatically at Lyra, who was illuminated by the spill of the stage light, is Lyra Stone. Same person. She's been making a mockery of our humble academy. A collective gasp swept through the hall. Phones immediately came out. Lyra looked at Jax. His expression was a mixture of shock, confusion, and betrayal. The dream of anonymity had shattered. Lyra turned and ran. She drove back to the private residence her father had set up, a fortress against the world. For weeks, the news cycled through her scandal, the Prodigy's deception. She tried calling Jax, but he never answered. The silence was worse than the cacophony of fame. Then, late one evening, a sharp sound of metal against glass came from her window. It wasn't the sound of breaking glass, but a distinct ping. A miniature drone hovered outside, projecting a bright light onto the wall. A note was taped to it. Meet me by the old lighthouse pier. I need to talk to Lyra, not Elara. She went. Jax was waiting, looking disheveled. I don't even know what to call you, he said flatly, his hands jammed in his pockets. My name is Elara Vance. Lyra was the lie, she confessed, looking down at her hands. Jax walked closer, slowly, deliberately. The day I met you, you ruined my sound equipment. You were terrible at sight reading and frustrating to work with. You argued about my music and wore terrible sweaters. He paused. I fell in love with that girl, Lyra, the one who wasn't afraid to be imperfect. He took her hands, gently peeling away the wristbands. The world sees the prodigy. I saw the messy, brilliant, passionate student who needed 2 cups of coffee to function and who could make a piano sing better than anyone. It took me a long time to realize the person I idolized from afar and the person I loved up close were the same soul. He leaned in, his voice dropping to a whisper. Whether you're Elara on stage or Lyra in the sound lab, I just want you to be mine. Elara finally smiled, letting the heavy weight of the Prodigy title lift from her shoulders. Just call me yours. Yeah.